So we are having some conversations on the topic of prayer. And Jonathan, one of the questions that people wonder and maybe even afraid to ask is, should they pray before meals?
Yeah, and that's funny. There's so much guilt around this too, because I'll be out, with someone for lunch or something, and they'll start eating, and then they'll look up at me like, "Oh, I forgot to pray. Oh no, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Don't apologize to me. I'm fine." Or sometimes me, I got my mind on something else, and then my wife will say, "We should pray." And then I'll feel so bad, and I'm a pastor, right?
You feel guilty for the rest of the meal.
Oh man, that's just terrible. And then, am I going to choke?
Yeah.
Am I going to choke if I don't pray?
Yeah.
Some kind of thing.
All right, so question, where did this whole thing about praying before meals come from?
Yeah, well, okay, I think to the best of my understanding, we look at the life of Jesus, and there's a couple different times when we see Jesus praying before the eating experience, whether he was eating or, serving food to someone else. And Jesus served people food a lot. It's interesting if you look at that in the scriptures. But there was a couple of times, he fed 5,000 plus people, 4,000 plus people. Large, huge crowds. And he took and he blessed it. He took the food and he blessed it. Now the word blessed and giving thanks are used interchangeably. They're used interchangeably, and so some translations of the Greek New Testament translate it one way, some another way. They can be used and understood interchangeably, but that's something that Jesus did. So that's why people say, will you ask the blessing, say the blessing?
Right.
But I think it's important to know that there's nothing magical that happens to the food. It's not like this unhealthy piece of fried chicken suddenly becomes heavenly for your body.
Right. It doesn't decrease the amount of calories.
No, it doesn't. Right. And so nothing happens to the food. It's not a magical kind of moment. It really is, I think, about gratitude. I think that's why often it's translated "give thanks." I think it's much more about not like God bless this food and change it somehow when it gets into my body so it doesn't hurt me, but it helps me. No, it's not about that as much as it is I acknowledge where my provisions come from, and I can have food because you have provided it for me, and I am so grateful.
What does gratitude do for us?
I think it reminds us that we are receivers from a source that is not ourselves.
Right.
You worked for it. Yeah, you went to the store and you bought it and all that. But the ability, the energy to be able to do that, the money, even though you worked for it, who gave you the energy to work, the intelligence to have a job, all that kind of stuff. All of that ultimately comes from God. And so he is our provider of all these things. And so we are giving thanks to God as our provider, as our source. But it's not something that we should feel like pressure about and guilty about kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not like we're going to choke.
Right. So as folks are watching this and they're going, okay, at my next meal, what would you think they should do?
I think, again, it's not a right or wrong.
Right.
This is just, again, my opinion. But understanding what Jesus did, I think now Jesus may have been supernaturally blessing the food because he was going to feed 5,000 people with just a little bit. So that's going to need some blessing.
Yeah.
But I think really what's going on there is that Jesus is giving us an example of gratitude. And so the next meal, I think the context should be, hey, let's give thanks to God for this. Let's give thanks to the Lord. Let's take a moment and thank God for making it possible for us to have this meal together.
To me, as I hear you say that, there's something powerful that, gratitude brings some peace to it, right? You're thankful and you recognize how much God has done for you. And that's very humbling and very satisfying at the same time.
And it slows you down.
And it slows you down.
And don't we all need to slow down a little bit and be more grateful? So asking or thanking God for the food is really a great way to pause, kind of slow yourself down and remind yourself of who provided it for you and to enjoy it a little bit more together.